to Savage and the match.
Yeah.
You didn't have much interaction with Savage before that, did you?
None. We did the angle in December, end of November, December of '86, to which he jumped me and left me laying. Then he came off the top rope with the announcer's bell on my throat. And so we didn't really have a match. And so I'm doing these little venues, these little skits on TV with a throat specialist, trying to get my voice back, trying to be able to talk. The big question is, am I ever going to be able to come back to wrestle? You know, a lot of times before a big event, a pay-per-view, you work with the guy a little bit to get some, what I call like some tune-up matches under your belt before the big pay-per-view, you know?
Sure.
And so, you know, the Wrestlemania 3 in March, so around February, I went to Vince. I said, is Savage and I going to have any tune-up matches, you know, get a chance to hook up with each other? Because, you know, I don't know his pace. You know, I don't, you know, I work with Ric Flair, and he's certainly different than working with a Greg Valentine. You know, everybody has a different pace, right? So, and especially with this being a Mania, you know, the third WrestleMania, and I said, you know, they said, no, you're gonna make your debut at WrestleMania 3. So I got with Randy and I said, you know, we're not having any matches or anything, and we haven't even touched really. So I was able to get back out on the road, and when Savage would be in the ring, I would just walk out to the ring before the match would start and point at Savage and say, I've got my eyes on you for WrestleMania 3, so that all the fans in the building could see that, and then just turn right around and walk back to the locker room. And it was those opportunities that after the show, I would meet up with Randy at his hotel, and we start putting this match together. You know, just trying to do it on a gut feeling. You know, I said, Randy, what kind of story do you think we ought to tell? Well, Dragon, I think since I came off the top rope on your throat, maybe throughout this match you try to go after my throat. You know, redemption. And I said, I said, Randy, that makes perfectly, good sense. I said, but I think that's all the fans would know that Ricky's going after his throat. Ricky's going after his throat. And so he thought for a moment, and well, Dragon, what kind of story do you? I said, I think we just should go out there and just blow the roof off the place and make it a championship match. Just make it a championship match. And so we started get this match together. And, for me back then, I kind of felt that an average match would have about 7 or 8 false finishes, throughout. That seemed to be the norm. 7, 8, 9 false finishes throughout, the match. And we started putting this match together, and we came up with like 20 false finishes. And I said, man, I said, I don't know about you, Randy, but I got to write this stuff down, and to remember each one consecutively. False finish number 1, number 2, number 3. Now you're up to false finish number 14. What's 15? 6, remember them on the get-go, right? So that's what made it different was I think I said, now I feel like this is a championship match because you're trying to keep the belt. I'm trying to beat you for it. And that's what a championship match is all about. We had 20 false finishes.
Ricky, you guys changed the business. That changed because there weren't false finishes, leading championship matches then, one after another like you guys did, leading up to where every false finish looks like the championship is either being retained or being lost. Did you guys at the time think, hey, we're going to put a ton of false finishes in here because the story we're telling is we're trying to win the championship, which seems really basic, but a lot of people don't get that because they get lost in matches sometimes.
Right. Well, we wanted to. I wanted to make it a championship match, and then we started hearing the numbers coming in, like how many tickets sold at the Silverdome. 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70 to 80, then, it ended up with like 93, 94,000, right? And then the buy rate, for the pay-per-view was coming in. And Jim Barnett was letting me in on that. And he said, Ricky, he said, the viewing audience that are buying this show at home is off the hook compared to the first two WrestleManias, So I just said, Randy, I said, let's go out there and steal the show. I mean, let's wait, I didn't say steal the show. I said, let's have the match of the night. Basically, let's have the match of the night. So that was our goal, to go out there and have the match of the night, not knowing, we're going up against the two biggest icons in the business with Andre and Hogan, right? Two biggest guys in the business. And I remember going to Andre and saying, are you guys doing anything special that, out of respect, because they were the main, out of respect, are you guys doing anything that we need to stay away from? You and Hogan. He said, no. He said, my back, my hips, we're going to do bear hug. So I just did it out of respect for Andre, as
sure.
So it left the door wide open, and I went to Savage and I said, everything we got written down, everything that we talked about, we got carte blanche to. We can roll it.
Ricky, it's two completely different mindsets. So you had the incredible matches, say, with Harley and with Flair, which I doubt you guys probably talked over anything. And then with Randy, who's notorious for wanting to have everything written down, a perfectionist, and terrific in the ring. And you come across with one of the greatest matches of all time. A lot of people say it is the greatest match of all time, but you had to remember so much. Did you enjoy the day? And did you enjoy the moment in the ring? Thinking there's 93,000 people around you. Did you get a chance to look around, or were you so enraptured in having to memorize 20 finishes that you didn't really get to enjoy the moment?
Very true. Very true. I was, once we got the match down on, we wrote it down on these yellow legal tablets, and we had about 250 steps. Step number one. Step number one. I said, Randy, we don't have to write down step number one. Write it down, Dragon, write it down. Step number one, lock up. Lock up. I said, come on, we don't have to write it down. We're going to do it. He said, write it down. So we about 250, and then we got it comprised down to about 160 steps, 160. So once we got the match written down, whenever we ran into each other leading up to the big show, I would quiz him. I said, okay, step number 32 is this, this, and this. Tell me the rest of the match. Well, number 33 is this, number 34 is this, number 35, and then he would quiz me. So we just keep bouncing back and forth.
Wow.
The day of the show, I'm walking around with just going through the match in my mind. Step number one, step number two, just talking to myself. I was so freaking stressed. It was, and then I'll never forget, they took us down in these carts from the gorilla position down to the ring. They took us down on these carts. And I'll never forget when I first came through the curtain and saw 93,000 people. It was like, holy, it was a moment. But then I sort of just zeroed in on the ring and just focused on the ring and just let everything else just be like background noise, background noise. And I'll never forget, after the 20 false finishes and the 21st one was the 1, 2, 3. I'll never forget where I laid on my back. I looked up at the Silverdome at the very top, and I said, it is done. It is over. I was so relieved. So it wasn't fun. It was stress to the nines. More stress than any match I've ever been involved with.
You know? Unbelievable. And did you feel like, I know you two guys have been in some great matches, but you know how it is when you're in a match and things are going really well. And at some point, at least I would think, okay, if I could just not screw this up, this is going to be a really good match, whether it's a house show, pay-per-view, whatever it is. Did you know about, say, 8 minutes in, this son of a bitch is a classic?
No.
But I still got to remember number 72 through 151. And just, if I could just not screw it up, we're going to have something that people are going to talk about forever. Did you feel that way, that
no,
it was working?
No. So focused on the next step, the next number. I will say there were 2 times Savage had a flat line and I had a flat line. Randy says, Dragon, I'm lost. And I would tell him, okay, we're doing this. He said, okay, I got it. And then we go on with the match. And then all of a sudden I said, I'm flatlining Savage. I'm flatlining. What do we do? And he would tell it to me. And then I said, okay, I got it. So we had 2 moments in the match to which we both were lost for a second. And then we carried on and went through the rest.
When did you realize it was a classic?
Well, it was kind of growing on me after the match. All the guys and everybody coming up and saying, "What a match! What a hell of a match! What a show!" Vince was saying, "What a show you guys put on for the company tonight!" And even old timers like Gorilla Monsoon and Arnold Skolin, they would come up and they'd pat us on the back, and you don't see that very often from them. They come up and say that was a good match. But I mean, really putting it over. God, how did you guys remember all that? God, what a match. So it started that night after the show, where they had the big party afterwards, and you're sitting at your table and stuff, and throughout the whole night, the wrestlers just kept coming up and just praising us on our match.
What did Savage say after the match?
I honestly did not see him until at the afterwards party, and he was also so relieved. He was just so relieved like me. I think I might have started up the conversation where I'm glad it's over. It was so stressed out. Lanny Poffo told me, and Lanny just maybe had told me this about 5 years ago, to where Randy felt that he could top it. He could top the match working with somebody. But what he said, with all the guys that followed us, he was so disappointed because he could never top it. He said he never was able to pull a better match out with whoever he worked with. And he worked with Hogan, and he worked with Ultimate Warrior, and it was something that he felt he could do, but was disappointed because he didn't, and he couldn't.
Well, there wasn't many Ricky Steamboats out there to do it with. You mentioned 2 guys.
Yeah.
Their best night, they weren't going to be able to be Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all took a lot of pride in our work. We